All right, welcome to episode 33 of Life is Horror. This will be the slasher slash serial killer themed episode where I talk about movies like You're Killing Me, Hunt Her, Kill Her, Sick, and Outpost. All movies from this year, and also rank the big three franchises. 33 movies total. That's why I'm doing it on episode 33, because I'm clever like that. Yeah, I'm going to rank all 33 movies of the big three franchises. All three of these franchises, by the way, I've reviewed. So if you want to hear my thoughts on all these movies, I've done that already on this channel. So I'm not going to talk too long about each movie because I've already done that on this channel. So yeah, plus if I talk about all 33 movies, this video will be very long, like my Universal Monsters video, which was an hour and a half. I don't want to repeat of that. So as for any horror news, there's not much to discuss here. I mean, there's another update on Black Phone 2. Black Phone 2, which was already greenlit a while back, but now I think they just recently confirmed the casting to bring back all the actors from the first one, even actors who died in the first one. Ethan Hawke's coming back, I heard. And I think it's the same director, Scott Derrickson, and that's got a set release date for 2025. I'm not sure why they're making a sequel. I guess it's because they made money. That's the main reason. But I felt like that story wrapped up good, so I don't know why they need to continue. I don't know where they're gonna go from here, but I'm curious to see what they do. As long as they bring back, you know, the same director and writer, I'm on board. All right, so what else was announced? Oh yeah, this was interesting. I just read that Creighton Duke from Jason Goes to Hell is getting like a spin-off movie, and Adam Marcus is going to write and direct it, or I'm not sure if it's going to be a TV series or a movie, but they're talking about it. Yeah, because that's what everyone's begging for, is the Creighton Duke story. That's what we need. Give me a break. Everything's getting a fucking spin-off. Like every little character in any movie seems like they can get a spin-off. It's ridiculous. Like, does anyone really want a Creighton Duke? But because of the rights, they can't even call him Creighton Duke. So I'm curious how that's going to work. They're just going to change his name because you know how the rights are with this franchise. It's impossible to make another movie because of the rights issues. Victor Miller, Sean Cunningham, all that shit. Who owns who? The name of this is owned by this company, or this company owns the right to this. Like, it's craziness. So I'm not sure how this is gonna happen with all these rights issues. But yeah, I just read that today. I thought that was interesting and kind of dumb. I'm not looking forward to it because I hate that movie and hate that character. His character makes no sense. I don't get how he knows what he knows about Jason, but whatever. Um, so yeah, and he died. He died in that movie. Clearly, got like snapped in half. But I guess he's coming back, or maybe it's a prequel, or he'll just come back with like some bandage on his back, or he'll like have like a limp, or he'll have like a walking cane, like from when Jason broke my back. That's why I got this cane now. I don't know how they're gonna explain it, but whatever. So yeah, that's happening. Unfortunately, who knows? Maybe it'll be good. Fingers crossed. But whatever. So that's all I gotta say, horror news wise. So let's jump into the reviews. Take it away. Video bumper, is that what they call it? The bumpers. Take it away. All right, so time for the reviews. You're Killing Me from 2023. All these movies. Directed by Jaron Lauder and Beth Hanna. I wonder if that's a married couple. Yeah, so Edna goes to a coveted heaven and hell themed party, hoping to get a letter of recommendation to an elite university from the wealthy parents of her classmate, but the party quickly turns into a fight for her life. Now, this stars Dermot Mulroney and Anne Heche and Michaeli Miller. So, yeah, this one was okay. I wasn't a big fan of the characters, and the performances were meh. You got this husky voiced woman as the lead, Eden, and her easily manipulated, selfish friend Sarah, who I couldn't stand. And the characters in this movie make some really stupid ass decisions, like decisions that make Laurie Strode in Halloween seem like a genius. Uh, like, And Laurie Strode in Halloween, great movie, but her character was pretty dumb. She kept throwing the knife down every single fucking time. Like, the characters in this movie make decisions even worse than that make you shake your head and just like want them dead because of their stupidity. And Zara, yeah, she's the worst. She gets drugged twice because she never learns her lesson. And the third act, Revenge, is the best part, but felt rushed and held back on the gore. So not a lot of gore in this one. There should have been like a twist where Eden is the killer, getting rid of everyone on the scholarship waiting list ahead of her. I thought that's kind of where they were going, but they didn't. And she could have like pinned all the murders on the rich, entitled son of the congressman using the phone video, which they idiotically recorded. This is one of those movies where like these rich, entitled kids, they like film themselves doing crimes for whatever reason. Like, why would you want that video on your phone? That's just stupid. So yeah, I thought they were going to use that somehow, but no, that video was not really that important. Um, so yeah, I was expecting more humor because of the title of the film. You're killing me. Sounds like the guy in Friday the 13th Part 4. He's killing me. You're killing me, Jason. Stop it. Um, yeah, you're killing me. The title of the movie, that line is said in the movie many times by the antagonist, but it's not a comedy. It's supposed to be a comedy, I think, but there wasn't a lot of humor that landed, unfortunately. If you're going to be a horror comedy, you got to make me laugh. If you're not going to give me the gore, give me the jokes. Average runtime, about 90 minutes. Steady pace, wasn't ever really slow. Just needed a bloodbath in the end. I was hoping for a lot more in the climax, but didn't get any of that. And just more humor that lands. So just okay movie, pretty forgettable. So I'll give it a generous 3 out of 5. It's not blowing my mind. I don't think it's going to make any list this year. Not a high recommendation from me. No, let's not do Sick. Let's do Outpost. Let's not jump ahead. There it is. All right, so Outpost. Who directed this? It was like an actor. Directed by Joe Lo Truglio. I'm pretty sure that's an actor. He's always like a small role, kind of a goofy actor. He's usually in comedies. So he's directing this, and I think he might be the writer. After a violent attack, a woman searches for strength in the solitude of a lookout job, but is overwhelmed by something darker. Sort of similar-ish to the movie Dark Nature that I talked about in my last episode. And this stars Beth Dover, any relation to Ben Dover. It has Dylan Baker from Trick or Treat and many other movies. Dallas Roberts. Anyways, so yeah, another movie this year about a woman running away from an abusive relationship, escaping into isolation, which drives her more crazy than she already was. Apparently, abuse makes you hallucinate smoke and bleeding Ritz crackers. Yeah, so a lot of hallucination shit going on, and the twist about the imaginary friend was so obvious. The third act was the best part when she turns into like Jack Torrance, but ends not how you want it to. It leaves too much open. Did the dude die from his wounds? Like, there's things left unclear. Like, did so and so come back with the police? Like, this ending was not satisfying. I got a lot of questions written down in my notes. So yeah, I was left with many questions at the end. I don't believe trauma would make you this nuts, but I don't know. I've never experienced trauma like this, but I just find it a little hard to believe that because a guy you're with beats you up, all of a sudden you're going to start hallucinating crackers bleeding. Does it really make you that crazy when you get beat up by your spouse? The score went unnoticed, so hardly any soundtrack to the film. There's no humor, which is shocking when I found out who wrote and directed this. Moral of the story is don't run away from your problems. The movie was just too predictable. Yeah, it's just a been here, done that movie. Very average, fine, forgettable also. So 2.5 out of 5. Very blah. Not much to say about it. It's just kind of boring. Kind of takes a while to get going. It's a bit of a slow burn because the first like half of the movie is just her at this outpost, and she's just in the woods, and then some people show up and she yells at them for littering, and then this chick shows up and she talks to her at like an outhouse, and then like Dylan Baker is kind of weird and kind of like a red herring because he acts a little crazy, and then I don't know, just not my cup of tea. I don't think many people have even seen this movie or heard of it, but it's free on Prime. Yeah, free now, but of course I rent it like an asshole, and then 24 hours later, Prime's like, oh, by the way, if you just waited a day, you could have watched it for free instead of wasting like $2. So that happens to me all the time. Hunt her, kill her. All right, let's find this on my list here. Where is it? It can't be this high up. I must have passed it. Sorry, guys. Where the fuck is it? I think it should be around here somewhere. This is one of those cat and mouse chase movies. I'll just talk to kill time as I'm looking for it. There it is. It's a cat and mouse chase movie, all one location in this like big old factory. Um, yeah, let me find the synopsis here. A desperate young mother, Karen, takes a job as the night shift janitor at a large furniture factory. She is told that she is the only one working at this time, but after seeing a strange vehicle idling in the parking lot and finding a door to the factory ajar, she gets the feeling she might not be might not be alone after all. Dun dun dun. This stars nobody, literally nobody. Very low budget, very underseen. Not a lot of people have seen it. This movie reminded me of Christie in a way. It's like Christie, but in a factory. Christie, by the way, high recommendation for me. Check that out. Set around Thanksgiving, and I forget the actress's name in it, but it's got much better actors in that movie. I can tell you that. Was not crazy about the performances in this one. A lot of unknown people here, and the lead actress not good. Um, yeah, a lot of convenient weapons and wound cleaning materials just lying around. The protagonist is more lucky than clever, but does a few smart things while also making some dumb decisions as well. I remember that. She just kept going back and forth. It was like she'd do something smart, and then a minute later she'd do something really stupid. Like she wasn't very consistent. And the movie is not original, deep, or suspenseful, or anything. But it is kind of entertaining though, just seeing her kill these people. You want to see her kill all these people, and she does in different ways. And yeah, it's just 5 intruders. She just gets lucky again and again. So many conveniences left and right. You can guess who's doing it and why pretty damn early on. It's not really a surprising reveal who's behind this. What are the odds that she gets a job at a place where 2 of her ex-husband's friends are working? Why would she want to work there with them? The acting and dialogue is pretty poor, but thankfully, once the chase starts, there isn't much dialogue. And the intruders say bitch more times than Freddy Krueger. The sound design is over exaggerated. Like when a wound is bleeding, you just hear like gushing sounds. Like that would never happen. The masks are not creepy at all. You can see one of them on the poster right there. And the score had like a synth sound. And one of the best aspects of the movie is the soundtrack. There's some subtle humorous moments. Could have been better with a stronger actress and more polished dialogue. Better dialogue, better acting could have made this a little bit more tolerable. And maybe even a surprise in the third act. But it's just been here, done that again. Very predictable movie. But I'm not going to lie and say I wasn't entertained by how she killed these people. It was kind of fun watching her take out these assholes one by one in different ways. Got very smart in a couple of moments. So yeah, it kept me entertained. It's a short movie. Not a total time waster, but just nothing we haven't seen 1,000 times done better. Like I said, check out Christie. It's a much better version of this movie. All right, now let's talk about Sick. Sick, sick, sick. All right. This got released back in January. This is the COVID movie, one of the first COVID inspired slashers. All right, so in the midst of the pandemic, college student Parker and her best friend Miri decide to self quarantine at her family's lake house where they will be alone, or so they think. This stars Dylan Sprayberry, Bethlehem Million, and Gideon Adlon. I don't recognize any of these people. Joel, Courtney. One of these people I recognize from another movie called Alone, which came out a couple years ago. Same director, John Hyams. The guy who directed Alone from a couple years back. Good movie. Check that out. But this was written by Kevin Williamson. And so this is a basic home invasion slasher with a COVID twist to make it a little different from the rest. It's written by Kevin Williamson, unmistakably. You can tell it's his writing. And it opens with a kill, like a traditional slasher movie, and the killer texts his victims like Ghostface calls them, So, Ghostface likes to call them, and the killer in this one keeps texting his victims right before they kill them. And, we get a pretty intense fight sequence at the beginning that was well shot. I like that. And the kills are lame, though, like the Scream franchise. And the body count is very low, like the Scream franchise. So that's why I said, like, you can tell this is a Williamson movie because he likes to write low body count films with no gore, no creativity in the kills. The killer's motive is, of course, COVID related. I won't spoil exactly why they're killing. Besides, you can guess it's COVID. The killers are wearing masks and they're killing these people who aren't wearing masks or whatever. And, one of them, I think one of them is wearing a mask, but the other friend's like, whatever, like she doesn't care if she takes off the mask. Um, and so, yeah, there's a lot of like COVID jokes in it and talking about social distancing and all that stuff. The fights were well choreographed, pretty intense. Like I said, the characters fight back. They don't make stupid, idiotic decisions all the time. The scares are predictable. It wasn't very suspenseful after the opening. I thought that one was the most suspenseful. Let's see. Yada, yada, yada. Cops arrive when it's all over trope. Don't you love that? Every horror movie has it. When you get to the very end of the movie, and the cops, you can just hear them arriving in the distance, like, oh, where were you guys an hour ago? Car gets stuck in ditch trope. And there's some tropes in this movie. One character is a nurse student, so they know how to properly attend wounds trope. They always gotta have that one character in a horror movie who will know how to like stitch up a knife wound or something. It's only 75 minutes long and fast paced, so yeah, at least it's got that going. I thought it was all right. Um, like me, I'm not a big fan of Scream movies, and so because this had so many Scream moments in it, kind of just I don't know. I'm not a fan of this style slasher. Like when I watch a slasher movie like this, you got these killers running around terrorizing these girls. Like I want to see some gore. I want to see gore in a slasher, and this one didn't give me the gore. It had a little bit of suspense. The acting was all right. I don't remember it being terrible, but I just didn't think it was that scary. And the whole COVID thing, was obvious, like what the motive was going to be. But I don't know, I wasn't a big fan of this one. This one's got like over a 6 on IMDb. I think this one is a little overrated, but better than these other movies I've been talking about. It's better made. The direction here wasn't that bad, but yeah. Anyone else like me? Like, it was okay. I would give it a 3 out of 5, but this is not a slasher that I see myself like watching every few years. This was a one and done for me. Just needed the gore, needed the body count. They just throw in one extra character in here to die. Like, how many people die in this movie? One, I think. Like, 2 people. So, yeah. More of a home invasion movie than a slasher, I guess. So, yeah, that's all I gotta say about this. A little underwhelmed by it. But, yeah, there you go. So, now let's jump into this ranking. Let's rifle through it. We got 33 movies to talk about. So, let's start with Jason Goes to Hell. Shocking that would be my least favorite. Was anyone surprised by that? No. This one's most people's least favorite movie, not only in this franchise, but of the big three. This one's my least favorite by a long shot. Fuck this movie. Body hopping. Why? And something that's already been done before. The Hidden did it much better. 32. Dream Child. Fuck this movie too. These bottom like 8 to 10 movies I do not like at all. Dream Child to me is the worst of the Freddy franchise because of the plot. It's so nonsensical. The whole baby that's like 2 weeks old in the womb is already dreaming about itself when it's 8 years old and all that shit. Like, it makes no fucking sense. This plot is so stupid. It's like a group of children wrote it. They just, whoever the company is. Who did it? What, New Line just went to a bunch of elementary kids, hand them pens, and say, write down your ideas, and we'll put in this fucking movie. That's what it feels like. Super Freddy, hate it, absolutely hate it. Some of the worst acting is in this movie by far. Freddy's Dead is the next one. This is most people's least favorites because of the whole cartoonish shit that happens in it. But I don't mind it that much. I mean, I'll take that over all the crazy, stupid shit in part five. Um, but yeah, it's still a terrible movie. A lot of these Freddy movies I'm not a fan of. This one's terrible. The cartoony stuff, like the whole pushing the bed of spikes out on the road's pretty ridiculous. But at least they didn't give us a stupid explanation about how he's back. The Freddy franchise comes up with the most absurd reasons why he's back. And this one finally decided, you know what? Fuck it. Let's just set the movie in the future and not explain why Freddy's back. It's a bit of a cop out, but I'll take that over like dog piss resurrecting him. And so Halloween Resurrection, the worst Halloween movie because of, Busta Rhymes. The whole premise is stupid. All these people getting killed in like a 1,400 square foot house and no one hears a fucking thing and there's cameras everywhere and like millions of people watching and no one can find this fucker Michael in the house. Like, are you kidding me? Like, that alone, like, on paper it sounds like a good idea, but how about you put it in a bigger house, make it more believable, and give us better characters? These characters all fucking suck. And this movie feels like two movies in one. The whole opening could have been its own film. Why didn't they just do that? The whole opening should have just been the whole film and bring back John and Molly. Like, why were they absent from this film? That was a big mistake too. Halloween 5, the next worst movie. I used to be higher on this movie as a kid and even a teenager. A lot of nostalgia for this one because it was the one I saw on TV the most. 4 and 5 seemed to be the ones that were always advertised whenever I was watching TV. These would come on the most and I would watch them. But the more I age, the more Halloween 5 just sucks worse and worse. This one makes so many cardinal sins, so many bad decisions. Like the script is horrible. The mask is horrible. Tina's fucking horrible. They kill Rachel off early on. They make the main character you love from part 4 a fucking mute for some reason because she's becoming like Michael, I guess. But they went nowhere with that. All of a sudden, she just starts talking. And so they just threw that, like, so she was mute for an hour for no fucking reason. Like, it's so dumb. So dumb. So many reasons. So many things wrong with this. The fucking music, I think it's the worst soundtrack of the series. The dumbest jack-o'-lantern open in the series. It's like Ray Charles carving a jack-o'-lantern. It's terrible. All right, second worst in the Friday franchise is Jason Takes Manhattan. This is just like part 5 of Halloween, in the being that it makes so many stupid decisions, so many cardinal sins in this one also. It has so many dumb things in it that just make you scratch your head and think like, somebody greenlit this? Somebody read this script and said, yeah, do it. Like, toxic waste flooding the sewers of Manhattan every day? That makes total sense. That's a real thing. No. And then, like, you got Jason screaming like a little girl when he gets toxic waste thrown on his face, but nothing else seems to hurt him. And then he's like Terminator in this one. He's just so focused on these two for some reason and not trying to kill everybody. Like, this movie is so disappointing. With a premise like this should have been a lot more fun, but they spent over an hour on a fucking boat. They should have spent the entire movie on the boat, or only like a quarter of the movie on the boat and the rest of it in Manhattan. It's just such a mess of a movie. Lame kills. I'm not crazy about the look of Jason in this movie. Kane Hodder's performance is the only like saving grace of the film. It's well shot, looks good, but just because a movie looks good doesn't mean the movie is good. Number 27, The New Blood, or The No Blood, as I called it in my review, because there's no fucking blood in this movie. This one got hacked to shit by the MPAA. Or as John Carl Beakley would say, this movie got raped by the MPAA, bent it over a barrel, and showed it to 50 states. Is that the line from We're the Millers? I forget what the line was. Something like, I want to bend her over a barrel and show her to 50 states. And the guy's like, that makes no sense. But whatever. That's what they did to this movie. Bent it over a barrel. The characters suck. Dialogue sucks. Kills, non-existent. They're all cutaway kills. Like, you got like 15 kills at least, and you can't remember a single one except for the sleeping bag kill. And even that one got hurt when I realized how stupid it is. He's slamming her ankles up against a tiny ass tree. It looks like he's hitting her with the big tree, but if you really look at it, there's actually a tiny tree right in front of the big tree that he's hitting her against. So it's extra dumb. All right, the remake of Nightmare on Elm Street. I've seen this one maybe like twice. I don't even think I saw it at the theater. And what hurts this movie is Rooney Mara. I fucking can't stand her in this movie. She clearly didn't want to be in a movie. She hates horror. She said it in interviews that she didn't even want to be in a movie. And that just seems so disrespectful that you would take this iconic role in this iconic, slasher franchise and treat it with such no respect at all. And just like give a very lifeless performance. Like her performance in this movie, it's like she's dead. And the one guy in the movie looks like he's about to cry in every fucking scene. He looks like a ghost. He's so pale. Like, I hate every character in this movie. And like the whole like was he innocent thing. Like, the only thing I like about this movie is that Clancy Brown is in it. That's it. The rest is terrible. CGI Freddy face at times, and the voice, what they did with the voice, not a fan of it. Halloween Ends. Wow. Yeah. What to say about this controversial movie? I'm in the camp that thinks that it's a fucking terrible, stupid way to end the trilogy with a whole story about a character that we've never met before. Like, this started as the Laurie Strode trilogy, and then they ended with the Arnie Cunningham story that we've already seen before in Christine and Rob Zombie's Halloween. Like, we've got this story before. Why are we wasting so much time on this character that no one could ever possibly give a fuck about? Because you know he's gonna die. You know what they're doing early on. It's so predictable where the story's going. Like, okay, like he's getting abused. He's been mistreated by his parents, and the marching band's picking on him. So now he's gonna become a serial killer. And it's like, why are we doing this in the third chapter of a trilogy? Why is the focus shifting from Laurie to this jackass who is such a pathetic loser? No respect to the actor, just the character here, the way he's portrayed. Like, I'm supposed to believe that this guy who's getting picked on by the marching band can then, at the drop of a hat, just start like kicking the shit out of Michael Myers, who in the past has done all kinds of crazy shit and shown such brute strength, and now he's getting his ass kicked by this little loser. Like, so many cardinal sins in this movie too. It just pisses me off. This movie sucks. There's nothing great about it. It's got the weakest score of this new trilogy. I thought John Carpenter's score in this was so just not catchy or memorable at all. It didn't even stand out. And I don't even know what the fuck they're trying to say in this movie. Like, with that scene with him looking in his eyes, like, is there some kind of supernatural, like, passing of the evil? Or is he just recognizing the evil in his eyes and that's why he let him go? Like, oh, you're just like me. Like, what's going on there exactly? I don't know. There's just so many bad things in this movie. And the kills suck too. And the one kill you get from Michael is a repeat kill that's been repeated like at least 2 other times before in the franchise. The Bob kill. Enough with the Bob kill. Get creative. Jesus Christ. Halloween H2O. 20 years later. Stupid title for a movie. Halloween Water. Yeah, this should have been directed by Guillermo del Toro, and they could have called it Halloween H2O, The Shape of Water. That would have been funny. That, but that movie came out so many years later, so I guess that joke wouldn't work in 1998. But whatever. So yeah, bad score, bad mask, bad kills, yada yada yada. Same shit like in the other movies. Hardly any stalking. Short movie, but feels long. It just feels like a summer movie. It hardly feels like Halloween. Another disappointment. But I'll take this one over fucking Halloween Ends. Jason X in space. Jason in space. Evil gets an upgrade. This one's fine because it has some good kills. There's a lot of kills, and the look of Jason's fine. I don't like Uber Jason. I don't like that like Power Ranger look. The characters, meh, but you get some nudity and some gore. One of the best kills in the franchise. So at least it's got that. And I like the Cronenberg cameo. So yeah, just don't like the space shit. Really don't like the space setting. Halloween 2, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. This one's grown on me a little bit over the years. First time I saw it was back when I started my channel. Did not see this when it came out, and fucking hated it because of the reasons that most people hate it. I don't like what they did with the Loomis character. I don't like what they did with Laurie's character. I get that she has PTSD. I get the whole trauma thing. I get that would fuck you up and maybe make you a miserable, angry person, but the dialogue and the way Rob Zombie writes his characters, I just cannot stand, especially in this movie with her saying fuck every other fucking word. You could play a drinking game and die of alcohol poisoning before you even get halfway through it. Because that one scene, uh, like where she's yelling at Annie in the kitchen, like she says fuck like at least 20 times in that scene. It's so fucking absurd. It reminds me of Christmas Bloody Christmas that just got released recently. It's like Jesus, the dialogue is so atrocious in this movie, but it's shot well. It's got some brutal kills, and the gore is great. Tyler Mane is great as Michael, but it's a very mixed bag for me now. And that's why it's all the way down here at 22. 21, Halloween Kills. This one I like less and less on rewatch. I liked it at the theater. I didn't think it was better than 2018, but the more I watch it, the more I see the flaws. The whole shit at the hospital, them beating you over the head with the commentary here, all that shit. Like, we get it. Why are we at the hospital for 20 minutes following this guy who looks nothing like Michael Myers, but everyone in town thinks he's Michael Myers? It's so stupid. But it's got great kills, great cinematography, great opening, and love seeing Jim Cummings in this because I love him as a filmmaker and as an actor. I really like his movies. Check them out if you haven't seen them. Jim Cummings, Wolf of Snow Hollow, and the beta test. Jesus Christ, stuttering like a motherfucker here. Beta test. Check out his movies. Very great filmmaker. But yeah, everything with Laurie Strode in this movie, the ending, just very underwhelmed by the climax at the trap they set. It's shot like a music video, all like black and the backlit shit. Like, I don't know, just you can't even tell what the hell's happening there. I don't know, just not a big fan of that. In number 20, Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2, Freddy's Revenge, a movie that's notorious for being one of the gayest movies ever. And that to me adds to the film's charm. I don't mind all the gay undertones or whatever, and I just think it's funny. I mean, you got a parrot that explodes, and so many what the fuck moments in this movie. The plot, like a lot of these nightmare films, doesn't make much sense at all. I don't like that they went away from the dream aspect. Like, they kind of have it at the beginning, but then it just goes away. Like, is he daydreaming? Is he sleepwalking the whole time? Like, it's very confusing, and that's why this movie's so low, is because I get so confused when watching it. And the third act, after the pool party, falls apart. Falls apart. Everything right before the pool party, or leading up to the pool party, great. But that third act is weak. Rob Zombie's Halloween. Saw this one at the theater. First Halloween I saw. Again, it's just the dialogue that weighs this movie down. I really don't like Rob Zombie's dialogue in this. It's very cringeworthy, very over the top. The characters, unlikable, but shot well. And I think his wife gives the best performance in this movie than any other movie she's done. And it's got some brutal kills. So, yeah. Dream Master. Very corny, cheesy, very 80s MTV movie. It's got a very big soundtrack and a lot of cool looking sets. It's a very stylish looking movie, a lot of colorful lighting. I really like the visual presentation of this movie more than anything. I think Freddy looks pretty cool in this one. The makeup on him in 3 and 4, I think, might be the best. This is where he becomes very popular, and this is when he becomes full blown like one liner machine, and like the one liners are crazy in this one, but tolerable. It's not. It's part 5 and 6 where it becomes less tolerable. Bon appetit, bitch. In this one, you got lines like, "Oh, Rick, you little meatball. I love soul food." Like, this stuff's kind of funny. They jumped the shark in a couple of moments, but there's some great special effects in this movie. It's a very special effects heavy film. Great sets. The one sequence I'm not crazy about in this movie is the dream sequence with the brother character, the whole invisible man karate shit. That's just, you can tell they had no money. They lost money, and they're like, we don't have Robert England today, so let's just shoot a scene without him. I don't know. It's just such a piss poor scene. Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers. This is another one that has a great look, the atmosphere. This is probably the most Halloween feeling movie. It has the most autumnal, autumn vibe to it, I'll say. And a lot of great kills. I think the kills are great in this, and the look of Michael is definitely an improvement over 4 and 5. And the score, I used to not be crazy about it, but I think it's grown on me over the years. It's just the whole cult thing. If you could remove the cult from this movie and just have it be Michael going back to his house and killing the family that moved there and stalking them, and Tommy Doyle's trying to help them out, you don't even need Loomis at this point. Just have Tommy Doyle. And then people wouldn't shit on this movie as much. Number 16, Wes Craven's New Nightmare. Very self aware, very like. This was Scream before Scream, and much more clever, if you ask me. Again, it's just a third act that kind of makes less sense. It kind of falls apart in the third act a bit, and he starts to go full on Freddy. And I like that you don't like. I like that you don't see Freddy as much in this movie, but I'm not crazy about the look. The glove is fine, but the whole like the the leather jacket, whatever, the big old boots he's wearing. I'm not crazy about the look. I don't know why he couldn't just try to look like Freddy from before. Why did he have to change the look so much? Not sure why. I get changing the makeup, but the outfit, not necessarily a smart choice, but whatever. And Nancy, played once again by Heather. I think this is her best performance, and she looks her best in this movie. Freddy vs. Jason. Very fun movie. It's definitely got its issues. Some bad CGI. The characters kind of generic stoner high school kids, and not the best characters, not the best performances from some of them. But the look of the movie is great. The style, I like. The kills in this one. The bed kill is one of the best in both series. And yeah, I love the fight at the end. And I love the soundtrack in this movie. Kicks ass. And I just recently visited all the filming locations in this movie, so that was pretty fun. It's just Freddy in this one. I don't want to talk too much about this movie. This is long enough, anyways. Long enough video. Halloween 2018. All right. This one also, like Halloween Kills, I like a little less each viewing. This probably would have been a few spots higher had I not rewatched it so many times since. And it's just the writing that gets worse for me. Like, I notice the writing flaws more and more. Like, Laurie's plan 40 years, and this is what happens, and you make this mistake, really? And so many homages, like, too many. Um, but the score kicks ass. James Drew Courtney as the Shape is great. Probably the best actor to play him since the original. And yeah, it's got a fantastic soundtrack by John Carpenter. And yeah, I just wish it would have ended here. They should not have made more movies, but that's what happens when a movie makes money. They got shit all over the good movie by making more movies that almost ruin this movie, by making more. Like, the story should have ended here. It should have just ended with Michael burning up in the basement. That was satisfactory enough for me. Friday the 13th Part 5, A New Beginning. Very sleazy, high body count film, very quick paced, poorly written, but whatever. The whole motive, the killer in this, it's so obvious who it is. That's really the weakest aspect of the movie. This movie's biggest mistake was who they decided the killer was in the motive. So dumb. Just make it Vic or make it Tommy. That's who it should have been. Or make it nobody. Just some random person. But I think that probably wouldn't have worked. Just make it Tommy or Vic. That's who it should have been. But yeah, high body count, great kills, lots of boobs, and some of the best characters in the franchise, and some of the most quotable, fun, scenes of dialogue, and the "Ooh Baby" song. Like, it's so fun. It's such a fun movie. Halloween 2. Biggest mistake this movie made was the whole sister angle. John Carpenter was drinking while he wrote this movie and fucked up the rest of the franchise by that one mistake. Ruined the whole franchise because of that. Think of where this franchise could have gone if they had removed just that element of this movie. Part 4 would not have made the niece character. Jamie Lloyd still could have been the main character. It could have been a kid, for all we know, but it wouldn't have had that family connection shit in that one. Had not, I mean, but you know what? No, the writer of Halloween 4 still didn't need to do that. So I'll take that back. When you're writing a new movie, you don't have to fucking follow the mistakes of the last movie. So, but yeah, this movie, why the family thing? But love the soundtrack. Some good characters in this. Bud, you gotta listen to me, old Bud. And it's a little slowish in the second act, but Loomis is great in this, and great cinematography and lots of atmosphere. Love it. Love it. Friday 3. I used to like this one a little less. I used to have part 5 above this one, but I love the final chase in this movie. I think it's got the best final chase, and I love Jason in this one. Richard Brooker, much better than the Jason actor or fake Jason actor in part 5. So that's what puts this one above 5. And the kills in this one are better. This one has better kills and some of the best kills in the series. I love Rick's eyeball popping out kill, the harpoon gun kill, the handstand kill. So yeah, great kills, but some of the weakest acting in the series, unfortunately, because they were too busy focusing on the 3D and not the performances. And it's very cheesy. It's a movie to watch with a group of friends, and unfortunately, I've never seen it in 3D, true 3D, and never will because I'm blind in one eye. So that's unfortunate. Halloween 4, very nostalgic film. Like I said earlier, this one and 5 were on TV a lot. I love the atmosphere of this movie. Love the characters. Loomis back and just as good as he was in the first two, and some great kills in this one. I love the Kelly Meeker kill. And the only thing that sucks about this one is the mask, really. If they just would have made a good mask, I think less people would hate this movie. But I feel like the general consensus is that this is, before the recent trilogy, this was like the best sequel, if not part two. Um, but yeah, I think most people's complaint is just the mask. They fucked up the mask, and that's it. If they just would have changed that, this movie would be on most people's list high up. Number 9. Okay, officially we're in the top 10 territory. Number 10 was Halloween 4. Number 9, Dream Warriors. It's high up on my list, but it's not as high up on my nightmare list or this list as it would be on most people's. Like this movie, most people are very high on. Everyone loves this movie. I don't love it, but I do think it's really great because of all the special effects, because of Freddy in this one. This is when he starts to crack wise a little more. Welcome to prime time, bitch. This is when he starts saying bitch a lot. I don't think he ever said bitch before this. I can't think of any instance before, but he starts to say a lot more in this one. But I'm just not as big a fan of this as everyone else. I get taken out of it here and there with some of the scenes, like the whole Wizard Master shit. Not a big fan of that. There's some corny things in it for sure. Not the best acting. Some ridiculous shit, like when the girl dies in the TV and they see her body the way it is and they think she killed herself. Like, really? And why is it that Nancy has these drugs on her that she's like, these kids need to start taking them so they won't dream? Well, then it's like, well, if you can't get them soon enough, how about you start sharing your pills, you selfish bitch? Like, they never address that. Like, that to me seems like a bit of a plot hole. Like, she's got all these pills on her, but she's like, no, these are for me. Not you guys. You get your own. So, yeah, I think that kind of makes you not like her character that much in this one. But I like that they had the balls to kill off her and John Saxon, his character in this. I like that they brought them back. But yeah, just I'm not as high on it as everyone else, but it's still, considering it being number 9, that's pretty high, number 9. But I just feel like most people this would be like top 5, but it barely made my top 10. Number 8, the original Friday the 13th. Classic movie. Just visited all the filming locations back in August. Saw the movie there at Camp Crystal Lake where they filmed this. So that was pretty cool. Love the POV. This has a lot of it. And the stalking, the Tom Savini effects. Good stuff. Cop out reveal. It's a very cheat or cheating reveal. What am I trying to say here? It's a cheat. It's a fucking cheat. All right, that's a bit of a mistake in the movie. They should have shown what's her face, Betsy Palmer. What's her character's name? Pamela Voorhees. They should have shown her at least once early on. That's all I'll say. Part 2, the body count continues. This one improves over the original with the cinematography, the characters, the performances. but not really the kills. I think the kills on paper are maybe a little better in this one, but the gore is missing. The MPAA slash this one. If this movie had the gore that part one and part four had, this would be like on par with part four. But no, they had to hack it down. But I love the final chase. Love Ginny as the final girl. I do think the opening with Alice, I'm not really the biggest fan of that. I don't like when they bring back characters just to kill them off. Wasn't a fan of that. And I just feel like that sequence kind of drags the movie down. It's a short film, but it just goes on for too long. Way too long. In the shortest shower ever on film. The remake. This is pretty high up for some people, but I love it. Saw it in the theaters. First one I saw in the theaters. And I think this one has amazing cinematography, amazing Jason in it, and I think Derek Mears kicks ass. It's got some of the most nudity and some of the hottest women are in this movie. So I don't get the hate for this movie. It's clearly a love letter to the first four movies, and I think it combines those movies perfectly. My only complaints, my nitpicks, are at the very end. It's pretty obvious, been here, done that. It didn't need to do that, but it's just clearly them paying homage to the series that's famous for those last second jump scares. So I wasn't a fan of that, and I'm not a fan of the characters at the lake house. Lawrence and what's his face, Chewy. He has a weird name. I think it's Chewy. They're the best characters, but they're just typical stoners. But they have some of the best dialogue. Like, I have a better chance at fucking a penguin than that girl. But yeah, Trent's a big asshole, but he's kind of a funny, likable asshole. You like him because of how much of a dick he is to everybody. Number 5, the original Nightmare on Elm Street. Very ambitious, very creative, unique slasher. Some interesting kills in it. Very unique kills. You know, going up on the wall. It's one of the first movies that I think did that. Or maybe it happened in '82 with that one movie where like that girl's getting raped by the invisible person, or the ghost is raping her and she's going up the walls. A Poltergeist did it, so I guess it's been done before, but this is very low budget. So it's pretty impressive that they were able to pull that off. And yeah, Freddy's the scariest in this movie. So this, to me, this is my favorite Nightmare on Elm Street. I think I said part 3 over 5 years ago when I originally discussed these movies on my channel, but I've grown on this one a lot more. I appreciate it for the scares. It's much more horrific than the rest of the series. It never got scarier after part 1, unfortunately. Number 4, Jason Lives. Very fast-paced, fun movie. I don't mind the comedy as much as other people. It's a very love it or hate it movie, and the people who hate it because of the comedy, because of the whole paintball scene, the army music that plays during that scene, and the kids at the camp. They think that kids make it less scary, and Jason's not going to kill them. So I'll agree with them on that. But the humor, the fourth wall breaking, all that stuff doesn't bother me that much. The only humor that kind of takes me out of it, where I'm like, okay, that no one would talk like that, no kid would behave that way, is when the kids are like underneath the bed, like, what were you going to be when you grew up? Like, they're cracking jokes, like they're joking about dying. Like, no, like 10-year-old kid's going to make light of the situation that they're in. They're going to be pissing their pants. So that's the only like humorous moment where I'm like, we shouldn't be cracking jokes in this moment. We should try to keep the tension, the scares going. This is supposed to be scary, not funny. Keep the comedy out of the third act when things are ramping up. The kills are ramping up. All the cops are getting involved and they're getting killed in creative ways. This has some pretty cool kills. The bending of the back, Sheriff Garris, some quotable dialogue. Wherever the red dot goes, you bang. I really like the look of this movie. I think it's probably, of the original series before the remake, this was probably like the best made one, the best directed, and cinematography. I really like this one. This one in part 4, the best directed movies. Number 3, Halloween 3. Love this movie. Love its premise. Love the characters. Cinematography by Dean Cundy is amazing. The catchy jingle. Love it. Hated this movie when I saw it as a kid, but that's because I was one of those people that went to the theater, that went to the store, picked it up, saw Halloween 3 on the box. I was like, it's gotta have Michael in it. Took it home. Knew nothing about it. just knew the title. So I was like, where's Michael? So I was pissed off as a kid, never revisited this movie until maybe like 5, 6 years ago. And I've loved it since. Love its crazy, you know, story, the mask melting kids' heads, turning them like into snakes and bugs. The fact that all these kids across the world are dying at the end. If you decide to look at it that way, it's kind of left open to your interpretation. Did he succeed? Did he not? I think he did not. I love Dan Charles's movie. I love Tom Atkins as an actor. This is probably my favorite Tom Atkins movie. It's a fantastic annual tradition, to watch this movie on Halloween. I watch Halloween 1 and then I watch Halloween 3 and Trick or Treat. Those three every year. Final chapter, my favorite Friday the 13th. Why? Because it's got some of the best kills in the series. Tom Savini doing the effects, the best Jason. It's the darkest movie. Like literally the lighting, they keep Jason in the shadows, the way it's lit. I really like it. It's very moody. So I like the atmosphere of it, and I love the characters. Some of the best characters, some of the best cast, and you got freaking what's his face, Crispin Glover in it, and Lawrence Monson, and yeah, Tommy Jarvis. This is the start of the Jarvis trilogy, and Jason is just so badass in this movie. It's great kills. Another quotable movie. Taylor, where's the corkscrew? Bam! Like so many great moments. I mean, of course, there's nitpicky things, but the death of Jason, best demise of Jason in the series by far. Honestly, I think the franchise should have ended here. But I do love 5 and 6, so maybe not. But still, like if it would have ended here, imagine how much more like respect this franchise would get. I think people would respect it more if it just ended here and didn't go on to get those shitty later sequels. Because yeah, this is probably my favorite poster in the franchise. It's a great poster, very simplistic. Yeah, a lot of great things about it. This is, to me, 10 out of 10. Fantastic slasher. It's like the perfect slasher. But my number one is Halloween. This is back and forth with my number two, but this one's technically the better made movie, and I watch it every year. The atmosphere of it, the score, the best score of all time. It's my favorite score. John Carpenter just created magic with this. It's fucking awesome. The suspense, the stalking. You only get a couple of kills. That's why the final chapter is a better slasher, but this is a better movie. The Mask, iconic. I've talked about it plenty. I got 2 reviews on this movie, 2 rankings of this franchise. You can hear me talk about it there. I talk about it in my 1978 ranking. It was my number one of 78. No surprise there. It's one of the best horror movies of all time. John Carpenter's Halloween, number one. No surprise there. So there you have it. That is my ranking of the big 33 movie, the big three, 33 movies of the big 3 franchises. What is your ranking? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, I don't know what the next video will be about, so you'll find out then if I make it. So, adios, everybody.